No, I'm not gonna give you some hocus pocus mumbo jumbo. Oh, eat this special pill, or drink this special supplement, or do hits, and then you'll instantly lose weight. Okay, these actually work, right? And I'm not giving you some bullshit. Oh, buy this for 33 payments of 75.95, and then you will lose weight. No, but follow these steps, and hopefully they work for me. Hopefully they'll work for you. Alright, you want to lose weight without changing your diet? Let's begin. In the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. But how do you approach calories in, calories out, right? So here are 7 or maybe 8 steps if you count the first one, where you can eat the same thing, eat whatever you want, right? If you're currently eating pancakes or waffles or cereal or whatever, you can continue eating it and you'll still lose weight, right? So let's begin. First one, do more cardio, right? It's simple, right? If you don't change your calories in, change your calories out, do more cardio, right? Live a more active lifestyle, increase your NEAT, increase your whatever, right? So do more cardio. But we all know that, so that's stupid, right? So who cares about that? So the actual first one, don't drizzle your sauce, but dip your sauce instead. Why does this work? Okay, so I tried explaining it. I'm editing it now, and it's just so trash. So I'm just gonna re-explain it. So basically, you know that scumbag when you have nachos, and then all the toppings on top, right? And then you're like, oh, you want a chip? And then they take a chip, but then take the one chip that has literally everything on it, and then you're stuck with just a pile of tortilla chips. Not even nachos anymore. You just have tortilla chips because they took all the damn topping, right? That's what happens when you drizzle your sauce. So basically, because you're stuck with this shell of basically just tortilla shells, now you have to go get more topping, right? You have to put more cheese. You have to put more whatever on it. That's basically what happens when you drizzle your sauce. Let's say I'm eating pancakes. If I drizzle maple syrup on it and then I eat it, well, basically I'm using the top pancake as a spoon to eat the maple syrup. That was enough for the entire plate. And then the next 3 or 4 pancakes are just completely raw, right? There's nothing on it. And then I have to put maple syrup. I have to put more maple syrup on it, right? Because who eats, I mean, a pancake without maple syrup? What are you eating, bread? Right? So that's where this notion of dipping comes in, right? If you have a plate on the side where you dip your maple pancake or you dip your pancakes in the sauce because you're not constantly adding more, and then you're basically partitioning your maple syrup, so you're not basically just drinking maple syrup, right? You have every pancake tasting equally as delicious, equally I guess saturated with maple syrup, but you're not spooning in maple syrup into your mouth. Or this also works with like nacho cheese or chocolate syrup or whatever. So try dipping your food rather than pouring it or drizzling it on your food, and that'll save some calories left here and there. Number 2, when you're eating 2 things that are pairing, for example cereal and milk, when you sit down to eat, remove one of the objects. Because we've all been there, right? When you're eating cereal, you're like, oh, you're finishing, you're eating, and then you're like, oh, I don't have any more cereal, but I have all this milk left. Better pour in some more cereal, and then you're eating, oh, I don't have any more milk. So then you pour in some more milk. And you keep eating, you're like, oh, I don't have any more cereal again, right? And this goes on and on and on, right? And then like, basically, when you would have stopped like 4 bowls ago, you're now eating and eating and eating because it's basically a constant supply. And your mind sees food, I see food, and I'm just like, you're not eating that, I'm eating that, right? So when you're eating something that's a pairing, make sure one of the things is limited, and that way you don't have this constant supply of like, or this constant excuse to eat more and more. Number 3, which might confuse a lot of people, eat early in the day. Don't skip breakfast, don't skip lunch. Let's say you're still eating whatever you want to eat, right? Now, when you're eating early in the day, your body knows, okay, well, let's say you had a really big breakfast, right? Then throughout the day, your body's gonna be like, oh, I had a big breakfast. Even if you're not consciously thinking that, you're unconsciously thinking that. You're thinking, oh, I had a big breakfast. And then you'll tend to naturally eat less because of how many excess calories you had during the breakfast, right? But now let's say you ate a really big dinner rather than a really big breakfast. You're content the entire day, and then all of a sudden dinner, you eat a really big meal. Then you don't have that kind of time frame or that buffer to stop yourself or to limit yourself from to kind of eat less, where your body's like, oh, I have to eat less, right? I mean, yeah, you have time frame between when you ate dinner to when you sleep, but you would have already been consuming 0 calories while you're sleeping anyways, right? So kind of this time frame between breakfast to dinner, when you would be naturally eating less just because how big your breakfast or how big your lunch was, it no longer exists, because basically that time frame when you would have been eating less is kind of shifted over to the time frame between dinner and when you sleep. So you have a lot fewer opportunities to eat less food, if that makes sense. I know, I hope that makes sense. It's kind of weird to explain, but basically you have more opportunity to eat less if you eat a big breakfast versus when you eat a big dinner. Number 4. Am I number 4? I think I'm number 4. Contrary to popular belief, in my opinion, I think eating more meals more often will make you less hungry. So kind of the opposite of OMAD, or the opposite of intermittent fasting. Why does this work for me? Is because I found that for myself specifically, if I am starving before I eat a meal, I'll eat a lot more. And basically because ghrelin kicks in, and then just like you eat before you starve again, and then I just tend to I overeat when I'm saving up food, right? When I'm saving up calories for that food. And I tend to it's also harder for me to control, right? Whereas, for example, if I spread out my meals, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll eat, I don't know, like half a Kit Kat, like one stick of a Kit Kat. And I'll be like, okay, it's an unhealthy snack, but then I still want to try it. So maybe I'll eat half a stick of Kit Kat. But then if I'm starving the entire day, and then all of a sudden the first meal and I see, oh, there's a Kit Kat, I'm eating that Kit Kat. I don't care about you. I don't care about your mom. That is my Kit Kat. You take your hands off that Kit Kat. Okay? I'm watching you. With the previous one where I said eat more meals, I found that this is actually kind of differs from person to person, right? So like sometimes some people might say, oh, if I get more opportunities to eat, I'll have to stop myself from eating more, and then I will in the end eat more, right? So like this effect of ghrelin doesn't overcome my psychological addiction to food, or my psychological like I craving for food, right? And in that case, then maybe you do want to stick to bigger meals less often. But what matters is you experiment and at least give this a try and see what happens, right? Number 5, and like these tips or whatever are in no particular order. It's just what kind of came to my head. I just listed it down. They're all kind of important. I mean, they're all kind of just like small tips to help you learn. But number 5, I find is pretty important, which is just learn how to cook your foods, right? Learn what goes in it, and then kind of that will give you the insight as to how unhealthy or how calorie dense that food is, right? For example, when you look at a cupcake, or you look at even like just a loaf of bread or whatever, right? You're like, oh, it's a harmless little piece of bread, right? It doesn't taste sweet, or if it does taste sweet, it's barely sweet. And then we tend to put, like, for a muffin, we put blueberries, we put the crystal sugar thing on top, like the crystallized sugar thing. We put chocolate chips in it, cinnamon sugar, whatever, right? Butter. But it wasn't until I took a baking class, like one specific baking class, where they're like, oh, make a muffin. And I'm just like, you put 3 cups of sugar and you put a stick of butter in this thing? I'm eating that. What? Wait, no way. Right? Like, you don't know what goes inside a specific recipe or inside a specific food just by looking at it. You don't know how much of a certain thing goes in. But then I feel like when you cook, then you learn what goes in it. So next time, you become more aware, you become more educated. Next time, when you are picking between 2 choices and 2 snacks, you're like, oh, maybe I'll go for the healthy one. Now you actually know which one's more healthy because you've actually cooked it. And also number 2, when you do cook it, first of all, it's really fun to cook. I love cooking. I think it's one of my pastimes. My family hates it because then they have to try the food that I mess up on, which is not always the best. But when you do cook it, then even when you do make your muffin, you can adjust the recipe, right? You can say, oh, I want to put less sugar, or I want to put maybe sweetener instead, right? Instead of using 2 cups in a banana, I'll use 2 bananas and 1 cup of sugar, right? So there's all these adjustments you can make to make the dish that you love healthier. but while still eating the food and still having the same exact taste. So just try giving cooking a try. And if you don't cook often, then at least just try to cook it once and figure out the recipe and see what goes into it. And that will help you be more educated, and you'll be more prepared in the future to make better decisions. Next tip, you have two choices: eating family style and eating everyone gets one plate and that's it, right? So really this one also depends on what type of person you are, kind of similar to the eat more meals more often versus eat less meals. One type of person might respond better to having their own portion, and another type of person might respond better to having family meals. And just this kind of goes on to experimenting and kind of figuring out which one fits better for you. I found that with a lot of people, right? If you're given a plate of food, then if you finish it and you're still hungry, you'll get seconds. But if you don't finish it, if you're full before you finish like 80% of it, you'll be like, oh, what the hell, I'll just finish it. And you'll stuff your mouth even though you're already full. So if you're this type of person, maybe family style might be better. You have your bowl or your plate, and then you're just eating. You're not gonna, you don't have a set amount of food that you have to finish. So you can stop eating when you're full, and you don't have to stop past that. So those are the benefits of family style. But as I said before, with the individual plates, there's two options, and the tip here is kind of just experiment with both and see which one works for you, and then see which one you end up eating more or eating less than, and then pick that one. Number 6, I think. Number 7, 6, I don't know, but whatever it is, eat slower, right? This is super important. So if you look at a lot of other countries, right, their lunch times and the lunch times that their government provides them or requires that their job provides them is like an hour or more, right? Whereas in the US, it's only like half an hour that is required. So if you're eating your entire meal in half an hour, a lot of times you're just shoveling down food. You're shoveling food down your throat, and then you don't realize you're full because of how fast you're eating. So by the time you're full and your stomach realizes you're full, you've already overeaten because you still have food that you're chewing. You still have food that's going down your esophagus. Your stomach hasn't expanded big enough. So maybe you would have eaten 3 French toasts, but then instead you ate 5 French toasts. But so that your stomach's full, holding 3 French toasts. But while it's holding 3 French toasts, you have 1 French toast that's going down your throat right now, and another French toast that's on your fork. And you're like, French toast. I love French toast, right? So that's the tip. So we're gonna eat slower, and that will help a lot. Hey, Jason from the future. I just realized I was editing the video, and I just realized, I forgot something. Yeah, another tip: drink more water. So however much water you're drinking right now, just drink like more of that. Okay, like by drinking water, especially if it's cold water, you burn more calories because you have to raise the temperature of water, and I mean you still have to digest water. I guess technically you're gonna have to go walk to the bathroom more times. You're gonna have to pee more, therefore you're gonna have to expend more calories. Your needs gonna go up, and it's more satiating, right? Like sometimes you might be dehydrated, and you think you're hungry, but you're actually dehydrated, and then you're gonna eat calories instead of just drinking water. So drink more water. Alright, now back to the video. Peace. And then the last tip, which I find to be really helpful actually, is change the proportions of your meal, right? So let's say you have, fettuccine alfredo, like mushroom and chicken fettuccine alfredo or something, right? So let's say you have 200 grams of spaghetti or fettuccine. I don't know. I don't eat fancy food that often. I think it's called, is it Alfredo? No, it's fettuccine. Fettuccine, like let's say you have 250 grams, I guess, I don't know. And then you have 100 grams of chicken and 100 grams of, or like 50 grams of mushroom or something. And then however much sauce, right? So maybe instead, change the ratios, right? You're still eating fettuccine alfredo, but now let's say you're eating 150 grams of fettuccine. You're eating 250 grams of mushroom, and then you're eating 100 grams of chicken. You're still eating the same thing, but just the ratios are a little bit off, right? And honestly, we've all been to a restaurant and we've been like, This restaurant cheap AF, man. They gave me a skimpy ass piece of chicken with a crap ton of noodles. I've never seen anyone complain saying I got too little noodle and too much chicken, right? And I've never seen anyone say that. But then I have seen people say they gave me a big ass plate of noodles and they gave me a skimpy ass piece of chicken, right? So if you want to treat yourself, you want more chicken, right? So give yourself more toppings and then that's spaghetti, right? Or also what you can also do is what I love doing, right, is when I make stir fry noodles, is I'll get the oyster mushrooms that are kind of long, right, and I'll cut them into strips, or I'll get some type of vegetable and cut them into strips, and then like long strips, right, and then I'll use less noodle, but then because I have those long strips of mushroom or long strips of like I don't know some type of vegetable or like carrots or onion, then you have these lower calorie dense foods giving you and providing you the same kind of mouthfeel and the same texture as the noodles because they're long strips, right? So it's like you kind of have fake noodles with your mushroom, but then it's still the same dish, right? You didn't change any of the ingredients. You just changed the ratios around. So in the end, you're still tricking yourself to eat less calories. So in the end of it, right? In finale, right? Weight loss is just calories in, calories out. But how you approach weight loss, there's so many different hacks, right? And I just gave you what, 7, 8. If you include cardio, I'm not going to include cardio. That's still 7 or 8, right? It involves experimentation and also seeing what works for you, and just kind of being creative with it and trying to trick your body into saying, "Oh, I'm full," or "Oh, I'm eating the same thing," which you are. Your diet is not changed. All I did was change the ratios, right? You're still content. You're still eating. I'm assuming you're still eating. Obviously, it'd be better if you're eating the anabolic French toast or the anabolic pancakes as opposed to regular pancakes or regular waffles or French toast. But you start somewhere, right? And these are just some sustainable, nice, easy to follow, no BS ways to lose weight without changing your diet. I hope you enjoy. Stay tuned for more tips and more recipes. If you have any recipe you want me to try, leave it down. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. I don't know. Like if you want to like. See you next time. Peace. Oh shit, my phone's running out of memory.